And Wolf, thanks for joining us. We're learning more tonight about a crime called jackpotting that's showing up more around the Twin Ports, landing thieves hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, the crime is committed by hacking into ATM machines to dispense the cash.
Northern News Now's Madison Green joins us to break down how the criminals are doing this. Madison, is this a newer crime in our region?
Yes, jackpotting only first started popping up in the U.S. in 2018, and Duluth didn't see its first case until September of last year. Since then, there's been 2 successful cases of jackpotting and 5 more attempts here. According to the Duluth Police Department, jackpotting can be done in a few ways, but typically involves several people and more than one visit to the machine. Someone will physically access the ATM and either install malware or corrupt the existing hard drive. Then they or an accomplice will return and program the corrupted drive to dispense the money. DPD Detective Ryan Temple says jackpotting is a crime of opportunity, so it typically only occurs at banks at night.
Individuals oftentimes walk up on foot. They'll be completely covered up with masks and their hoods, covering their face so that they're not able to be seen on the video. And then a lot of it comes down to the banks installing current software to prevent this type of thing.
Banks are now installing new alarms that flash and sound a siren if someone attempts to open up the machine, which he says has already successfully scared off a few attempts. Temple said if there is any good news in these cases, it's that the stolen cash is not from any specific individual's account, it is from the bank.
Thank you, Madison. DPD says there have been no arrests in the 2 successful cases of jackpotting in the city.